I'm Curtis Robinson. I'm a tattoo artist at Thorns in Stockton. I've been tattooing for, I think I've just passed 10 years. It might be 11. I can't remember exactly when I started tattooing because I deleted the first tattoo I ever did off my Instagram, which kills me to this day. When I was a kid, it kind of came from a few angles. After a certain age, maybe like 10 or 11, that's when it kind of kicked in for me that I wanted to be a tattoo artist. I used to like sit and copy my dad drawing stuff. He'd like lay on the floor and draw like, you know, like Conan and stuff like that. And then I'd like lay next to him and like, you know, like also draw what he was drawing, but like a fucking shit version. And then I think cause like my dad had, he had like tattoos, and I used to watch like wrestling, and I was into like metal, you know, like Slipknot, Rob Zombie and stuff when I was younger. And I think all of that is kind of like adjacent to like tattoo culture, because like the wrestlers I used to like, it'd be like The Undertaker and Jeff Hardy and stuff. I'd watch all these like metal music videos where it'd be like people like Corey Taylor and stuff with like fucking tattoos and skulls and shit. And then my dad had tattoos, so I was like, from just being a kid, I'd just be like, yeah man, that's cool as fuck. I want to get loads of fucking skulls and shit on my hands and that. And just kind of went from there, I think. I think my interests generally have kind of stayed the same. Like I said, I'd like copy my dad drawing stuff, and he always used to draw like fucking barbarians and goblins and shit like that, which is kind of what I sort of tattoo now. I just do a lot of like, you know, like knights and medieval imagery and stuff. And when I'd copy from like comics when I was younger, it'd be like Conan, Spawn, you know, like some more like dark Marvel or DC sort of stuff. I'd like, you know, like Judge Dredd, shit like that. I'd like copy them, and then eventually from that I'd start drawing my own sort of thing. And I think it's kind of stayed like kind of in line with that ish. When I was in college, I did lino cutting and wood cutting is like one of the modules or whatever you call it. And I kind of went from that to doing this like woodcut style that I sort of did in my early career, because I cut out the middleman of lino, you know, and instead of doing the lino cut and then printing it, I just was like, oh, I'm just going to draw as if it was lino cut. And then that's when I was like, oh shit, I can do this as like a style sort of thing. I'd say my style is, I call it medieval gothic. But that's like vague, you know, like I'd say it's like woodcut inspired, but now I tend to like shade stuff a bit more rather than just using just the lines. So I'd say as a whole, I'd say medieval gothic is like the style I do, but I'd say it's like woodcut inspired illustration, maybe. I think what I like about tattooing is just that I get the first thing is that I get to do it as like a job, you know, like I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't tattooing, but I wouldn't be enjoying it, you know, like I've worked in retail and all sorts of stuff like that, and it's just not for me. And growing up, you get told like by like fucking teachers or, you know, sometimes like family members just saying like you can't really make a living out of art and stuff, and I like that I've found a way to do that and be happy where it feels like it's a hobby more than a job that, you know, like is able to support my life really. Yeah, and then just the fact that like, yeah, people trust me enough and like my art enough to get like a tattoo on them for like forever. Like it's cool that I've never been one to care about like, you know, like I don't know what the word is, just like the legacy of your, you know, like leaving like family members behind and stuff, you know, like having kids or anything like that. But then I also think it's really cool that like people are going to have tattoos by me on them, like maybe like after I'm dead and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, there's going to be like artwork out there in the world, whether it's tattoos or prints or drawings, that you can be like, oh fuck, remember that guy, you know? You know, like, not only do these people like my drawing, but they like it enough to be like, I want that drawing on my fucking leg. Sorry, I'm swearing, I don't know if you can. Yeah, I'd say my influences mainly, it's like video games and books and films to an extent, but it's usually around the vicinity of like horror and dark fantasy, you know, like anything that kind of is one of those things or combines them both. Like I'm super into like, you know, like all the Dark Souls games and like Skyrim and just anything like RPG-ish. And I'll be playing one of those and there might be like a dragon or something on it and I'll go, oh man, that'd look sick, but you know, it'd look cooler if it had horns or like a sword going through its neck, and then I'll draw something from that idea. And the same with books, because like I read like quite a lot of dark fantasy books and stuff and they're like super descriptive, and obviously I'll be picturing it different than someone else would just based on the words. So then I'll draw it and it'll look like, you know, like a pretty unique image really. And that's how I justify my video game addiction anyway. The main challenges that like have emerged, you know, like as I've got deeper into it, is just like there's always like an underlying anxiety of like, am I gonna get bookings really? You know, like every, I don't know, it doesn't, it's not like I've been quite lucky really where I've always been relatively booked up with stuff, but it's always on the back of my mind. You know, if a month goes by where I've got less emails than usual, I'm like, God, is this the new normal? You know what I mean? But then you might get a month where you get more emails and you go, oh God, yeah, I'm doing all right. But it's kind of just that really, that anxiety of like, am I gonna be able to like keep doing this for as long as I want to, which is forever really. But then on the flip side of that, I always say that like my worst day as a tattoo artist is better than my best day in any other job that I've ever done by far. You know, like there's nothing in this like job that would amount to like working night shifts in retail, like, you know, at all. So even when there are like stresses in it, it's just not as bad as like any other job that I've been in really. Yeah, so with the anxiety skulls, that came about I think in like during lockdown maybe, and it was kind of on the back end of that, like what is happening with my job. There was so much like anxiety where I was off work for like 10 months or 12 months or something, you know, because the government were just like, no, you can't do anything. So it kind of came off the back of that, and I just sort of drew them kind of like how it felt like. I was like the skulls obviously just being a person, but then all the liquid black stuff is like just like the worry like oozing out of me sort of thing, if you know what I mean. And then I drew a few, and then they kind of seem to like connect with a lot of people, and so I just kept drawing them and I ended up with absolutely loads. And that's why I made them available as flash rather than unique designs, because that meant if people like resonated with a specific one, I wouldn't have to be like, no, you can't get that because someone else got it. It's just that they're always there and always available. And that's like why I thought they'd probably be the best bet for the collab really. Yeah, so the reason I'm like stoked about this collab is like, I like the idea of people like having t-shirts and bags or anything like that I've drawn the design, but I fucking hate doing like the admin side of it. Like I've done one t-shirt before and it sold really well, and then I woke up the next day and it sold out, and I was like, oh my God, I have to like pack up all these t-shirts and, you know, go to the fucking post office and like write all the addresses. And it was just ended up being a bit of a nightmare because I think I had to take like a day off work, you know, to like pack it all up and stuff. And I just like the idea of people wearing, you know, there might be people that like can't get a tattoo from me, or maybe like don't want a tattoo from me, but they like my drawings. And this way people can like wear something. And then it linked up great with 13 because obviously you're clearly into the tattoo culture of it anyway. And it's not going to be the same as like some of those other places where you can, you know, like have them package all your merch, because I've tried a couple of those before and like the quality was terrible. The designs had like scratch off and stuff. And I obviously already wear 13 clothing, so I know it's going to be good quality. So the drawings are going to be good, the clothes are going to be good. So it just seemed like the perfect lineup really, I'd have said.